Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
And I'm Mike.
And we're talking about something that I really like today,
What's that?
Theme parks.
Ooh, you mean amusement parks? Fun fairs?
Fun fairs, yes.
Things like that?
Roller coasters and fast rides. So what are some things that you like about theme parks, Mike?
Wow, I don't remember the last time I was at a theme park, but I always loved the roller coasters. I was a little nervous the first time, but you know, in my teenage years, I remember going on one, getting off, and getting right back in line to go on it again. So those were
right back
always,
into the lines.
I'm not sure I'm that brave anymore. How about you, though?
I used to be the same. Actually, I think it was the opposite. When I was younger, I didn't really like going on roller coasters.
Right, okay.
But you
That's
know,
normal.
As you grow up, you kind of lose that fear.
Sure.
Especially of heights. I don't really have a fear of heights, so that works quite well for me.
Okay. Yeah.
There is one kind of roller coaster that I can't do, and I'm not sure what the name it is for it actually. But you know the one which has one arm that kind of just goes round and round, and you're being kind of flipped. You're being double flipped.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not sure what the technical term is for that ride, but that thing I can.
Vomit machine.
The vomit machine.
I know. Makes me feel sick just thinking about it. So there's that kind of ride.
Yogurt, so.
Oh, that's not good. There's that kind of ride. There are the big roller coasters, like the trains, kind of that go up and down.
I like
the
those.
smaller ones too, right? We can also talk about merry-go-rounds or carousels for the little kids.
Teacups.
The spinning teacups. That actually is a really good ride to mention because I think that started at Disneyland.
Oh,
and
did
so we're
it?
going to be looking at Disney. I think the teacups were from Alice in Wonderland, right?
That would make sense. That would make sense. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, we've actually got kind of a surprising article about Disneyland now, because it's not about how great this place is.
It's not about the rides, really.
No, not so much. In fact, let's take a quick look at the title. It's called The Happiest Place on Earth. Not if you're a Disneyland worker.
Interesting, because they often call Disneyland the happiest place on earth. That's kind of like a motto or a theme. But here you notice in our title, this is a question. So it's the happiest place on earth?
That's what you think?
We're asking, is it really? And apparently, not if you're a Disneyland worker.
Why is that? We're about to find out.
Reading.
The happiest place on earth? Not if you're a Disneyland worker. For many people who visit Disneyland, it's exactly what it claims to be, the happiest place on earth. But for Disneyland workers, the job has a dark side. Employees at Disney parks experience abuse from park guests, often being hit, insulted, and screamed at. Even then, they're expected to stay calm and keep smiling. Holding back negative feelings and staying cheerful at work is known as emotional labor. The cost of this for service workers can be quite high. Employees at theme parks sometimes need breaks just to relieve the stress of dealing with impatient park guests. While the park has its own police to handle rude people, some cases are never reported. Knowing how stressful things can be, Disney offers support to employees both on and off the job. All workers are given two-way radios to call for help. They also receive safety training, and managers learn how to calm stressful situations. Disney also has a wellness program that allows 5 free visits with a counselor. Now that you know all this, be extra kind the next time you meet Mickey Mouse or Snow White. They deserve cheerful smiles too.
So, our article begins, for many people who visit Disneyland, it's exactly what it claims to be, the happiest place on earth.
Right.
Okay, so that's our first vocab word, claim. When we claim something, we say that a thing is true. Disney is famous for telling people, everyone, that it is the happiest place on earth, as we said, the best place you can go. So when we claim something, though, we're not necessarily telling the truth. We're just saying it's true. So, for example, let's say that a kid, Brian, is playing soccer in the garden and he kicks a ball into a window and breaks it. Okay. When his mum asks him how the window got broken, he says it wasn't me. He claims he didn't do it.
It was that other kid and he ran away.
Kid, exactly. So, even though he's not telling the truth, he's still claiming that. Let's look at another example sentence. This company claims that their shoes are the most comfortable in the world. Okay, so they claim it, but is it true?
That's the big question. So Disney claims that Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, and possibly if you're visiting there for the day to enjoy the rides and go on the teacups and the roller coasters, it could be. But we're not really talking about us, the visitors. We're talking about the people who work there. So we read on. But for Disneyland workers, the job has a dark side. When we say something has a dark side, it has sort of a bad or negative side, and maybe something that you've never heard of or you're not too aware of. The dark side is sort of the hidden bad parts that we don't like to talk about.
We could say the job has negatives too.
Definitely,
if you want it to be a little bit more literal. Okay, so moving on. Employees at Disney parks experience abuse from park guests, often being hit, insulted, and screamed at.
I don't believe it.
Wow, so they're being abused. They're suffering abuse. Now, abuse is a noun, and it's the very bad or nasty treatment of other people. So in the article, the park guests are screaming at the employees, they're shouting at them, they're not being very nice to them. This is verbal abuse. This is spoken abuse. If they started hitting them or hurting them physically, we could say that they are physically abusing them, or they are giving them physical abuse. They're also screaming. We saw that they were screaming as well.
Yes, we're gonna
check out that word now.
Right. So yes, we have this verb scream. If someone screams at you, it would be very similar to yelling at you or shouting at you. The difference might be that scream is very high-pitched, kind of like that. I can't really scream that high. If I yelled at someone, it might be sort of a lower, bigger sound, but a scream is a very high-pitched sound. People do it when they're scared, they do it when they're in danger, they do it when they're angry, and you're doing it, well, to let out your feelings, I guess, if you're angry. But if you're in danger, if you're scared, you might also be doing it to get people's attention so people come to help you or save you from the danger. But generally, when we scream, the emotions are high. Maybe we're really happy about something and we're screaming in joy. Maybe we're terrified and we're screaming in fear, or we're screaming in anger because we're at Disneyland. I don't understand why, but some people, I guess, do. Let's look at our example sentence for scream. Randolph screamed when he saw the snake in the grass. Well, I can understand that. Wow, so here we are at the happiest place on earth.
And people are being screamed at.
People are being screamed at and abused. So you can imagine the people who are working in the gift shops or restaurants get yelled at because they got someone's food wrong, and maybe the people running the rides get yelled at because the line's moving so slow. Or maybe even people would scream at the people in the Disney costumes.
Right.
I can't imagine screaming at Donald Duck or Ariel the Mermaid.
And this is happening every day.
It happens a lot. So what happens when the staff gets screamed at? Well, of course, they're probably not allowed to fight back. Definitely not. And we learn in the next sentence, even then, even when they're screamed at, hit, or abused, even then they, the employees, even then they're expected to stay calm and keep smiling. So someone's screaming horrible things at you, calling you bad names, and you're like, okay, sir, it's the happiest place on earth.
But are they really happy?
They're
not really happy, because the article goes on, holding back negative feelings and staying cheerful at work is known as emotional labor. Ooh, interesting term there. Let's first look at hold back. That's a phrase that means to not express strong feelings that you have. So if I'm very sad but I don't want to cry, I might hold back my tears. Or however, if I'm very angry with someone and I don't want to shout at them, I might hold back my anger.
So you're turning
so
red.
I'm getting really angry, but I'm not going to shout at you.
Okay.
Because we're at work.
All right.
And we don't shout at people at work.
Don't want to turn into the Hulk.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is what holding back emotions are. We could also say that they are bottling up their emotions as well. They're shoving them all in an imaginary bottle and not letting it out. It's getting all shaped up there.
And that can be bad for people.
Yes, it can be very negative.
That's right. Over the long term, it can be bad. It can be negative. And the adjective negative means basically bad, something that is not good. It might not be terrible, but if you're looking at a scale of basically good and basically not good, negative would be on the not good side of the scale. For example, smoking will have a negative effect on your health.
Right, it won't make you run faster.
It won't do anything positive, anything good for you. It's negative stuff, so just don't bother doing it.
Exactly. And this is causing a lot of emotional labor. We also saw the word emotional. Now, emotional is an adjective, and it's basically a word which just means relating to feelings or emotions. So we put emotional before a noun to mean that that is related to emotions. So let's look at the article here. We have emotional labor, and that means that we're talking about hard work, labor, we'll talk about that in a minute, hard work which is related to emotions. Maybe that it makes us very tired or makes us angry or depressed, that kind of stuff. Now, that actually brings us to the second definition of emotional. Emotional can also mean something that makes you very angry, very sad, or very upset. So, yes, so we can have emotional labor, and we can also feel emotional because we are angry or sad. And this is causing a lot of emotional labor. Now, this is a very important word, which is a noun, and normally labor means just work. So every company, for example, has a labor force. For example, that is the people in the company that do the work. Often the difference between labor and work is that labor sounds more tiring. So when you labor away, because it can also be a verb, you do really hard work that makes you feel very tired, maybe depressed at the end of the day. That's the kind of image we get from the word labor in this article. Other ways we can use labor include when a woman is about to give birth, she goes into labor, which is also an uncomfortable thing.
Having a baby
wouldn't
is
be able
hard.
to tell you myself,
It's
obviously,
hard work.
but I have heard. Also, when people are forced to work with no pay, that's called slave labor. So again, the meaning of work there. And also we call the costs of hiring and paying workers labor costs. So it's always to do with work, sometimes with more of a negative connotation. So here's an example sentence now for labor. Jeremy was paid for his 8 hours of labor.
All right. So emotional labor is the extra kind of work. Not only do they have to do their job and serve the customers or entertain them, but they have to use their feelings and emotions. If someone is yelling at them, if they're in a bad mood, they just have to keep smiling. And that can be difficult. As it says, the cost of this emotional labor, the cost of this for service workers can be quite high. I had an experience with this. I worked in a store in college, and you know, it was sometimes hard when you were stressed out, when you had a fight with your girlfriend or whatever, and you got to go to work, and you can't just hide in the back and just work with machines. You got to go out and be friendly and cheerful, and on some days you just don't want to be friendly and cheerful.
It's really difficult.
And you're not getting paid more to be happy. So
exactly. Although I've heard in the US they do that.
Oh,
they
do
kind
they?
of encourage workers to always be happy, especially in restaurants. I remember I used to work in a restaurant, and when I was feeling sad, I would just say, I'm just going to wash the dishes. I'd rather look at a dirty plate than at an angry customer.
Sometimes you don't want to put that smile on your face.
But employees at Disney don't always get that opportunity. In fact, employees at theme parks sometimes need breaks just to relieve the stress of dealing with impatient park guests.
Interesting.
Wow, so they need to relieve the stress. Let's find out what that means. Okay, and we saw the word theme there in theme parks. Now, theme is a noun, and it basically means a subject or a topic, normally the main subject of something, such as a book, a movie, or a speech. So we could say that the theme for tonight's speech is poverty in this city. So we are going to mainly be talking about poverty in this city. So where does theme come into the phrase theme park? Well, a theme park is a large park where people pay to go in and play games or go on rides and have fun. And so normally in theme parks, they follow a certain topic or they have a certain subject. So maybe you're in a big park where everything is dinosaur themed, everything is kind of built to look like dinosaurs. Or maybe you could go to a horror themed theme park, so a horror theme park with lots of ghosts and ghouls. Right, so we also saw the word relieve as well, which is our next vocab word, and relieve is a verb. When we relieve pressure, stress, worry, or anxiety, that's 焦虑, we lift those emotions away and we make ourselves feel better. Here's a couple of examples. The massage relieved Minnie of the tension in her neck. So here we're talking about relieving something physical, tension, so feeling very tight, very painful, 很酸. Then we've got another one here. When he told his mum that he didn't want to go to college and she accepted his decision, John felt that he had been relieved of great pressure. So in this case, John isn't hurting, he's not uncomfortable, but he's been worrying a lot about telling his mum that he doesn't want to go to college. And now that she says it's okay, he feels not so worried anymore. He feels okay, he's relaxed. So that's how we can use relieve in that context. Okay, let's look at an example sentence now. This medicine should help relieve your pain.
And we also had this word impatient, all right? Here we're using I am, those two letters, that prefix to show it's the opposite of patient. If something is possible, you can do it. If it's impossible, you can't do it. If I'm patient, that means I'm calm and I'm relaxed, even if I have to wait for a long time. Even if that lady at the bank is standing there counting out her money, one penny by, I'm just like, that's okay, I got lots of time. Doesn't bother me. If you're impatient though, you'll be like, come on lady, hurry up, I gotta go, I got things to do. You get very emotional, you get upset, you maybe even a little angry if you have to wait and there's no good reason because you're in a rush, you're in a hurry, so you don't want to be patient, you're not feeling patient, you're feeling impatient. You want to go, 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 now, now, now. All right, back to the article. It says, while the park has its own police to handle rude people, some cases are never reported, right? These parks are really big. They do have people doing crazy, silly stuff. And so they do have police, but that would be for big things. Like I saw a fight at Disneyland on YouTube a few months ago, and the police came, but it took them 3 or 4 minutes to show up because the park is so big. And this was a fight involving like 9 people. But if it was just someone saying some bad words or being rude to a Disney worker, the police probably would never hear about that.
Yeah, especially because I think some people feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
They don't want to tell the police that something bad happened.
Or it happens all the time and they can't call the police every hour.
That's true, that's true. Yeah. So knowing how stressful things can be, Disney offers support to employees both on and off the job.
Okay.
So we just quickly there, we saw on and off the job. When we are on the job, we are doing a job, and when we are off the job, we are taking a break or we've finished working for the day.
Interesting.
Okay, so how are they communicating? How are they kind of keeping tabs?
Right, so the police are there, of course, to help. They do have people they can talk to on or off the job. And also the workers help each other. It says all workers are given two-way radios to call for help. So if you do need some help, yes, maybe the Disney park police are a little far away, but when maybe one of your coworkers is just a few feet or meters away and they can come and help you. So they do stick up for each other, which is good.
And there's some other means that they're taking to kind of help here. They also receive safety training and managers learn how to calm stressful situations.
That's good.
Right, because you also kind of want to keep the customer happy,
Sure.
but you also don't want to let your employee get beaten up by an old lady.
Absolutely. And you know, it can be tough. I mean, if you're a family and you're a dad or mom and you got 3 or 4 kids, you're spending lots of money that day, it's hot, the kids are running around out of control because they're so excited. It can be stressful, even if people are still trying to have fun.
So who is calming them down?
Well, we have this other word, when we're talking about a work situation, a manager is someone you'll find in almost any job. Manager, this is a noun, basically it's a boss. It's someone who supervises a group of workers under them. They make sure they know what they're doing the job right, and the manager's kind of there to jump in and handle any problems. So manager, boss, team leader, something like that. For example, my manager wants me to work overtime tonight, and since the manager's the boss, I kind of have to say okay. All right, back to the article. It says Disney also has a wellness program that allows 5 free visits with a counselor. Okay, that's not a bad idea.
That is very good. So why is this special? What's so great about a counselor?
I guess because a lot of jobs, they wouldn't have a counselor. A counselor is kind of like a doctor, but more for your mind and your emotions. Someone with a lot of experience who could give you a lot of good advice about how to handle your feelings. If you're feeling angry, do this to calm down. If you're feeling worried about something, talk to these people. They can help lift you up. That kind of thing. So counselors are just good to have because they can give you good advice about some maybe serious problems that you can't figure out on your own.
Right, yes.
All right.
So now that you know all of this, be extra kind the next time you meet Mickey Mouse or Snow White. They deserve cheerful smiles too. Okay, so that's our last word there, deserve, which is a verb. And when you deserve something, you are good enough for it, or you should have it. So for example, we could say that every child deserves a loving home. Every young person should have someone to look after them and love them. We could also say it's their right, 是他们的权利. So the Disney workers deserve to be treated the same way as everyone else. Wow, it sounds like working at Disney is much less magical than it seems. Would you be able to do it though, Mike? Don't answer just yet, because that's actually our For You chat question.
How much do they pay?
For You chat.
Okay, so we already kind of touched on our For You chat question. Would you like to work in a job where you serve customers all day? Why or why not?
That is a good question, but a tough question. I might want to say, what kind of customers am I serving all day? If it's kind of wild and crazy people, I might not be so into it. But if it was, being a waiter in a nice, quiet restaurant, that might be a little bit easier to handle.
A bit refined.
A little, just quieter. So it is a tough thing, but in all of those jobs, really, you do have to do emotional labor, and it sometimes can be hard. It's much harder than just carrying the drinks to the table when you have to deal with angry people or unhappy people.
Especially during a dinner rush when you have lots of people asking for things at the same time.
Very stressful, yeah.
I've always kind of wanted to be a tour guide. So, that's working with customers all day. I think there could be some challenges with that because I have this idea that I could, take them around Taipei, maybe go to Maokong, go on nice walks in the countryside.
You could do all that,
Technically, you can do all of that. That is part of the job. You take people to these places. But then I'm sure that there are people... Yeah.
I'm tired. I don't want to eat that. Can we go to McDonald's? You do have to deal with people and all their strangeness.
Yes. So working with customers is a bit of both worlds. It can be really fun. It can be really stressful. You guys talk about whether you would like to work with customers now. But for English for You, we're out of time. So I'm Seb.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.
The happiest place on earth? Not if you're a Disneyland worker. For many people who visit Disneyland, it's exactly what it claims to be, the happiest place on earth. But for Disneyland workers, the job has a dark side. Employees at Disney parks experience abuse from park guests, often being hit, insulted, and screamed at. Even then, they're expected to stay calm and keep smiling. Holding back negative feelings and staying cheerful at work is known as emotional labor. The cost of this for service workers can be quite high. Employees at theme parks sometimes need breaks just to relieve the stress of dealing with impatient park guests. While the park has its own police to handle rude people, some cases are never reported. Knowing how stressful things can be, Disney offers support to employees both on and off the job. All workers are given two-way radios to call for help. They also receive safety training, and managers learn how to calm stressful situations. Disney also has a wellness program that allows 5 free visits with a counselor. Now that you know all this, be extra kind the next time you meet Mickey Mouse or Snow White. They deserve cheerful smiles too.
Vocabulary Review. Claim. Alan claims to be friends with famous people, but I've never seen any pictures of him with them. Scream. When Deanna's dad suddenly jumped out at her, she screamed in fright and threw her book at him. Negative. I'd hoped to enjoy my vacation in Germany, but sadly it was a negative experience. Labor. Hank painted the house, and by the evening he was tired from doing so much labor. Relieve. Hannah hurt her back and took some medicine to relieve the pain. Manager. The angry woman asked to speak to Jason's manager so she could complain about his bad service.
智慧小补帖
Abuse. Insult. Emotional. Theme. Counselor. Deserve.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net